Bonjour, Kinamagi in Ireland, Indigenous Cuss, and welcome to this technology presentation. Today's presentation from 21 Things for Students, the Visual Learning Quest 4, Roller Coaster Design and Engineering Challenge. To reach this challenge, you'll click on the link within the Google Classroom. That'll bring you right to here. And this is the STEAM one. And when we start any of these, the first thing you should always do is go down to the student checklist and click there. Go ahead and do that. If you need to close this video in order to access this link, go ahead and do that and then restart the video and join us right up at this spot. This way you can go back and forth between what you're seeing and what we are doing. So we click on the student checklist. You'll notice it says request edit access. I can't really do much on this page, but I can make it my own. You'll notice it'll open up with your Google picture, and this is using my other Gmail account. So I'm going to go over to File. It's the furthest one on the left. I click on it. And then as I look down, there's Share, New, Open. There's Make a Copy. And that's what I want to click. So I click on it. Now I get some options. You could call it Mike 2.Q4 Visual Learning. I like to just put my name at the beginning of it and keep everything else the same. It'll work. Once you have that in there, and please don't use Mike, use your name. It'll make my life easier. You click OK, and it's going to save right into this folder so that if you went on your Google Drive and found this folder, you'd have all of these documents there. So I click OK. And now I have my own copy. Notice the edit access is gone. What I want to do first is I want to close that out. I don't need the original document anymore. I have this one. And I do recommend that you put your name. Date is cool. And the date of recording was 2/25/21. Teacher name optional. If you're sharing it with me, I kind of know it's for, me. Before you go any further, look up here where it says share. Right now, you're the only person that can see your document. That makes it hard for me to grade because I am not logging into your Google Drive to check for these things. So you click share and it brings up this screen. And I'll click got it here. Now, I want to share it with someone. And I'm going to hold the screen up here for just a moment because it has my email address. You should share it with mireland@sagchipschool.net. It might already pop up. And if so, you can put right on it. This is where you could add me to your contacts, where it makes it probably easier to email. If you need a moment longer to copy my email address, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I am going to move forward. So I'm going to click on it there. Now, remember, I do have some choices. Being it's with me, it's fine to leave it at editor. But you don't always want to do that. If you're sharing it with someone you just want to look at it, viewer is what you want. If you want the person to be able to comment on what you did on the margins, you can select there. I can actually change things. So if you forgot a step, you forgot to mark a step, I can mark it for you and it would be fine. But there will be times where you don't want people to write on your paper. That's where you'll use the viewer and see how it changes as we go. So now that I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Any second now. There it is. I got the notification that this document was shared with me. Once I go there, let's look at our steps for today's lesson. We're going to read the introduction. We're going to take the vocabulary quiz. Some of this we'll do together. Did some research and worked with a partner, a small group of 3, and learned how roller coasters work. Now, with the nature of how this school year is structured, you may not always have a partner available, but you could choose someone at home. It does not have to be a classmate that's a partner. Someone who's interested in roller coasters might be cool. A parent or guardian or an auntie or uncle that's into roller coasters might be cool. No more than a group of 3. And you'll have to be able to share the work, share your information. There's no set format for sharing, but at least be able to have a conversation. And if you are that sharing, I might ask you about what you learned, just as a one-on-one. Learned about the 5-step engineering process, watch simulations, and do loop the challenge. Created note-taking document to take notes on my design. One way you can do a note-taking document, and I'm not sure what's in the text right off the top of my head, but there is file. And you could do a new and just start a Word document and have a second document open. So let's say if I did that right now, I could, once I clicked on that file or new document, now I could name it Mike Roller Coaster Notes. They may already have something in here for notes, but if they don't, that's one thing you could do. It's a great thing about these is that, yes, I have a lot of tabs open, but they are useful. Then I read through the steps and imagine and plan to help me make decisions. Open and read and follow the 10-step coaster planning chart directions. Ran at least 2 trials. Read over the grading rubric. Completed the 8 steps, created a 3-minute project report. And reviewed my personal learning goals and reflected on what I learned and what might be done differently in the future. And then I checked this quest off my roadmap. So there's a lot of things in here. So let's look at it briefly. I'm not going to do each step with you because this video would be very long at that point. But we start out looking at the introduction. And actually, we're going to watch this little video from PBS Kids. And I'll go ahead and I'll watch that video with you.
I call them fear machines. My name is Chris Gray. I'm a mechanical engineer. I work at Great Coasters International in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. We design and build wooden roller coasters all over the world. And I have roller coaster stuff everywhere. I made a decision when I was 8 years old. This is what I want to do. Trying to figure out what the forces were that would scare someone to make them scream at a particular point of a ride. A roller coaster is based all on gravity. We're building potential energy as we go up the lift. The higher we go, the more potential energy we have. So you have to take all those forces and mix it up a little bit to give everything just a little twist of excitement so the person that's actually riding the ride never knows what to expect next. This is a little miniature roller coaster. This is how I got my start in the amusement business, was building these architectural models. And it was one of the things that I loved to do as a kid. And I think that's where the dream and the love of doing what I do now kind of started.
So yes, this could be something that if you really were passionate about, you could go ahead and possibly make a career of it. So now my introduction. You've been hired by the Best Thrill Rides amusement park to design their roller coasters. They claim to be the best in the world at thrills and safety. You must use your knowledge of mass, gravity, potential, and kinetic energy to design roller coasters that will not stall or crash. So yes, this could be something that we look at as partly a science project. It is something that we'll look at, obviously, in the way of tech. So you could have learning in both. This is a project that'll probably give in multiple weeks to complete, especially when we're only in the classroom a couple of days a week right now. So we have our introduction. I can statements. Know how energy transfer, potential, and kinetic will impact my design for a roller coaster that has enough kinetic energy to complete a full run. It means one time through the whole track. Understand how energy loss dissipates enough energy through friction to stop safely at the end of the designated track. Because let's be honest, when you have the person at Cedar Point that's like, welcome to Cedar Point's America's roller coaster. Yeah, if the train zips right by her, there's a problem to her safety, to the people waiting, and the fact that you're back on the track. Apply the 5-step engineering design process that we'll learn a little bit more about later. And set and evaluate some personal learning goals. So there's a lot of things in this. Let's look at the key vocabulary. And some of these are science terms that would be very helpful for you to know. Potential energy is stored energy. Kinetic energy is the energy of motion. So right now, if you could see me, I'm holding a stapler. That's potential energy. There are forces that are ready if I want the stapler to move. Now, if I move my hand, there is the energy of motion. Gravity is going to make it hit the ground. I might think I'm Nolan Ryan and want to toss it to someone. Bad idea. Don't do it in class. But that is motion at that point. Energy loss. When energy is converted from one form to another or moved from one place to another, there can be some energy loss. Example, when the coaster wheels run on the track, some of the energy is converted to heat on the metal rails of the track. Friction, if you ever roll a ball or play football outside and you kick the ball, does it keep going forever? No. The forces of energy such as friction and gravity will stop that ball eventually. Friction is the resistance that one surface or object encounters when moving over another. Mass is the amount of matter an object has. That's not the same thing as weight. As we learned in our science class, my weight on the moon is different. My mass is the same. I have the same amount of me, no matter where I'm at. Velocity is the speed of something in a given direction. If I'm driving 60 miles an hour to the east, that's my velocity. Gravity is a natural force that causes things to fall towards the earth. It's why the apple landed on Isaac Newton's head. So you can see some of the graphic here. Maximum potential energy at the start of the ride. Maximum kinetic energy just as it goes to the bottom of the loop. And you see, and you may notice in roller coasters, usually the first hill is the tallest. That is because the car loses energy as it goes. All right, let's get to the vocabulary game. But first, we do have to mark some things off. There it is. I've read that. And you can mark this off if you've done it here with us. Sorry. So let's open up the vocab game. All right, mass. Amount of matter an object has. Velocity. Speed and direction of something in its right path. Gravity. Natural force. Kinetic energy. The energy of motion. Friction, resistance, energy loss. There we go. So it wasn't real fast. You might have the opportunity to beat me, but it'll also help you with your knowledge of science vocabulary as well. So the steps in this, and there are a lot of them, do some research and work with a partner in a small group of 3 and learn about how roller coasters work. Each partner can use one of the following links and then share what they learned with the others. So you have some videos here that you can use as your starting spot. Step 2, your 5-step engineering process. Ask, imagine, plan, create, and improve. And this isn't a lot different than the scientific method. You know, we took notice, we asked questions. Imagine is kind of like our hypothesis. We plan, those are our steps in planning out what might work. And then we actually create the model and test it. And then we come up with suggestions for next time. How would we improve it? So it's kind of like a 21st century scientific method. Then step 3, imagine the plan and plan. You see, there's quite a bit there. Step 4, create and improve. This is a new activity for 2020. Okay. How much does it take to run a roller coaster? Go through all of these links. Then we get into the ask, some questions there. And then Steps for the build one, engineering challenge. Then you're going to create a model. If there is opportunities, and you can see the rubric here, I would recommend you use this rubric to kind of judge yourself. I'm interested in your skills. If this was a science project, and it very well could be, I might use something like this to score. But this is something you can use on your own. But you have some opportunities to go further. If you are unable to, get materials to try some of these, let me know. We'll see what we can do. Because this is a technology class or portion, if we're unable to actually test it, it's not going to mark you down on that part. But it is pretty cool thing to do, and I'll try to give us some time in class. But if you do need supplies, please reach out. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we look for supplies that you have around your home, or if we have something in the classroom that needs to be borrowed, that would be okay too. And then it says review we set the rubric 3-minute project report using any technology process the team selects, and include some video or there's still images. Now, this is where your cell phone could be a really big use, that you could try it out. I do encourage you to try to go all the way through. And because you have a team, if you're working with another student or two other students, you could share that part together. Because in the real world, when you're creating, you're probably working with a team. It's very rare that they say, hey, you sit in that cubicle and design. Teams design in many cases. Due to the length of this project, we will likely use this as our tech for the next 2 weeks. If I can find some science time that you need, or if we're in the classroom and you need some guidance, please do reach out. This could be pretty fun. I do encourage you to try it out and go all those steps. Not just because it could be a science grade, and it might be depending on what you're doing here, but more important, this is the kind of thinking that you need to be able to utilize throughout your academic career and probably in your professional career. Maybe you are going to be the one to create the next great roller coaster at Michigan's Adventure or Cedar Point. No, I'm not paid to market either of them, but those are two of the closer ones to us here. If you have any questions, do reach out to me at mireland@sagchipschool.net. I look forward to seeing your creativity. Have a minugishigad, minwa, bamapi.